My dear loving people of God, the first reading and the gospel passage of the 15th ordinary Sunday of year C teaches about following the law. Jesus, in the gospel passage of today, presents the Good Samaritan as an embodiment of the fulfillment of the law of love, which Jesus summarized in the New Testament. Love of God and love of one's neighbor. The love that we have for God has to be seen in our action towards our neighbors. By choosing a Samaritan model, Jesus shows that our neighbor may be found anywhere among any racial group, and not only among our clan, race, or religion. As I was reflecting upon this passage, I was taken immediately to the book of Ezekiel from the Old Testament. And while I saw the similarities between the gospel passage, the parable of the Good Samaritan, and the passage from Ezekiel chapter 16, I could see a spark of divinity in that Good Samaritan. Of course, the matter here is about being a good neighbor to those in need. But this particular Samaritan was not just a good neighbor, but he was much more. He was like God. When I say this, I do not equal any human being to God. But we all know that we all are created in the image and likeness of God. Does that image shine in your case? It did shine in the case of the Good Samaritan. Could Jews ever see a spark of divinity in a Samaritan? Of course not. Let's picturize the Good Samaritan parable. In the parable, a man unfortunately became a victim of thieves and bandits on the way to Jerusalem from Jericho. The route was actually dangerous with caves and hideout places. This poor man was beaten, looted, and left half dead. We are told that 2 men passed by that way. They saw the injured man, but passed the other way. In public's view, these were good and God-fearing men, but they were least bothered about a tragic situation in which they could be of great help. Then comes the Samaritan. A Samaritan who is called as a foreigner, an enemy. He goes and notices this man's plight, and without seeing whether he belonged to his race, his clan, or his religion, was moved with pity and compassion. He went out of his way to save his life. He took complete care of him. Now, this is what exactly God did to the people of Israel. And that is why I would like to take you back to the prophetic book of Ezekiel chapter 16 verses 1 to 6. In this entire chapter, God recalls the history of Israel as a nation from its birth. God says, your father was an Amorite and mother a Hittite. The day you were born, you were not loved. You were neglected, nor were you washed with clean water to cleanse you, nor were you rubbed with salt, nor wrapped in clothes. No one pitied you or had compassion on you, for you were just thrown out in the open field. And then I passed by, and I saw you flaying about in your blood, left to die. And I had compassion on you, and I took you to be mine and took care of you. My dear people of God, the plight of that man, that unfortunate man, was like the plight of Israel as a nation at its birth. He was left half dead, just as Israel was left to die in an open field. As God had compassion and took care of his people, here the Good Samaritan had compassion and took good care of him. And that is why I say, I see a spark of divinity in this Good Samaritan. He was not just a good neighbor, but much more like God, possessing a heart full of compassion like that of God. Let me ask you, have you ever done something very touching that people could see a spark of divinity in you? Have you done something with extraordinary love where people could say that they saw Jesus in you? It's not about receiving a compliment, but about being a good neighbor, going out of your way with extraordinary love to help someone. Today, this reading, this parable of the Good Samaritan invites us to be a good neighbor and even much more to move out with love and compassion without making any differences based on caste, religion, or clan. And when we do this, people will see that spark of divinity in us. They will see Jesus in us. For we are all created in the image and likeness of God. This reading also challenges us to see the divine spark in the people belonging to other religion, other cultures, but doing extraordinary work, extraordinary service to humanity. Will you be able to see a spark of divinity in that? Let's pray for grace that we may be filled with compassion and love for the people in need. And if at all we say that we love God, let's show it in our actions. May God bless each one of you.